In this video, I want to talk about the one mindset that shifts everything because most people are looking at their 3D reality, their current circumstances, their bank account, their relationships, whatever is showing up in their life right now, and using it to decide what is possible for them. And what I want to remind you is what your 3D reality actually is. It is not current information. It is not live data about what you get to have or what you get to be. It is the physical echo of your past consciousness, the thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions you held weeks, months, sometimes years ago, being made visible to you in physical form. You're not living in the present when you look at your 3D. You are looking at the past. And the moment you understand that, really understand it, everything about how you approach your life changes because now you stop taking your instruction from the echo of your past and you start being the source. Consciousness is the real reality, Neville said. The 3D is just its delayed reflection. And that is the mindset that changes everything. And this entire video is going to show you exactly what that means, why it is true, how it works, and what it looks like to actually live from this mindset. If you're new here, hello, I'm your Muse Traci. On this channel, I help you unlock the power you already have but can't access. I help you break through where years of trying has failed. And the biggest hurdle of all, I help you go from intellectually knowing the law to permanently embodying it. I personally spent years doing all the right things and getting only surface level results. When I finally discovered what was actually creating my reality and why I kept struggling in certain areas, everything changed. Now I help people break the patterns keeping them stuck, and I help them to start manifesting the love, the money, the joy, the success they've always known they were meant for. So, there is a principle that has been taught across traditions, philosophies, and even confirmed through neuroscience and quantum physics. And it is the foundation of everything I teach as well. As within, so without. The outer world is always a direct correspondence to your inner world, not sometimes, not partially, always, precisely, and without exception. What you experience in your physical reality, your relationships, your finances, your health, your sense of what is possible for you, is always only a reflection of the state of your inner world, your beliefs, your assumptions, your subconscious programming, the identity you are currently operating from. The outer is the effect, the inner is the one and only cause. This is not a metaphor. It is not a spiritual comfort. It is the actual mechanics of how reality is created. And once you understand it at this deep level, once it shifts from something you intellectually agree with to something you genuinely see operating in your life and you can operate from, you stop trying to change the outer world and you start going to the only place where real change is possible within you. Now, let's make this concrete because this principle gets taught in a way that sounds really nice and it's easy to nod your head and yes, 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 I agree, Traci. But it doesn't actually land in a way that you can operate from, right? It doesn't land in a way that you can change your behavior. But I want you guys to be able to integrate and use the information. So think about a pattern in your life, something that keeps showing up, the same dynamic in relationships, different people, but the same experience, the same financial pattern, different circumstances, but the same ceiling, the same feeling of being overlooked, undervalued, or not quite having what you want. Why does this pattern follow you from situation to situation, from person to person, from circumstance to circumstance? Because the pattern is not the situation. It is not the other person. It is not the circumstance. It is in the inner world that is generating all of it. the pattern is the correspondence. It is the outer world doing exactly what the law says that it does, which is reflecting the inner world back to you with perfect accuracy. Which means, and this is the shift that changes everything, if you want a different outer world, you do not work on the outer world. You work on the inner world, the source, right? The inner world is what is generating the outer world. This is what as within, so without actually means in practice, not just as a flowery, fluffy philosophy. No, as a precise understanding of cause and effect. The inner world is always the cause, the outer world is always the effect. And effects do not change by working on them directly. They change when the cause changes. Your 3D reality has no information about what's possible for you. It only has information about what your inner world was previously focused on. So you have to stop taking your instruction from the evidence of your past inner world if you want to create any change in your life. Stop letting it define your ceiling, what's possible for you. Stop treating the reflection as if it were the source. No, the source is within you. That is where your power is, and that is where your work is. So, when Neville said consciousness is the real reality, what did he actually mean? Well, it means that the physical world you are experiencing right now is not the primary reality. It is actually the secondary reality. It is the solidified, slowed down, delayed physical expression of something that already happened at the level of your consciousness, your thoughts, your beliefs, your assumptions, and the emotional frequencies you've habitually operated from. Those are not happening in the response to your reality. They are generating your reality. You have to get that the right way around. The physical world is the last thing to change, not the first. Changes always start in consciousness. Think about it this way. Before any physical thing was built, whether it's a building, a business, a relationship, it existed first as an idea, as a vision, as something held in consciousness before it became real in the physical world. The physical expression was always secondary to the consciousness that preceded it. Your life works the exact same way. Everything you are currently experiencing in your physical reality was first a pattern in your consciousness, a belief about what you deserve, an assumption about what is available to you, an identity, something you've been wearing so long you stopped noticing it as a layer and you thought it was who you really are. Most people are living in the echo of their past assumptions and calling it reality. They are looking at the physical circumstances that their past consciousness created, the relationship shaped by old beliefs, the finances reflecting old assumptions about money, the patterns generated by a blueprint that was installed in childhood. And they are using all of it to decide what is true about them right now. They are letting old information define their current possibility. And that is the mindset that keeps everything stuck. And it keeps everything stuck not because people aren't working hard or they're not doing enough techniques. No, none of that. People are working hard. They're just working in the wrong way. It keeps everything stuck because they're working on the wrong level. Like I said before, you cannot change the effect by working on the effect. You can only change it by changing the cause. Consciousness is the cause, 3D is the effect. The moment this stopped being a concept for me and became something I actually saw operating in my own life, it was both humbling and also liberating. It was the most liberating thing that I had ever understood, honestly. I could see exactly how my past consciousness had built my circumstances and my patterns. And, once you see it this way, you realize it's not punishment. It's not like the world is against me. It's perfect correspondence, showing you as within, so without, working with absolute precision. And I realized if my past consciousness built this that I don't prefer so much, my current consciousness can build something entirely different and something that I actually prefer. That realization was the beginning of everything starting to shift in my life. So I know you've probably heard this before, as within, so without. So let's talk about why it's so hard to break out of this old habit of trying to change the effect. Because it's not a matter of knowing this intellectually. You have to actually use it and be able to live from it. So, there's a part of your brain called the reticular activating system, the RAS, and its entire job is to filter your reality because your brain receives a lot, a lot of information, millions of bits of information per second from your environment, and your conscious mind can only process a very small number of those millions of bits. So the RAS acts as a gatekeeper. It decides what you actually notice, what makes it through to your conscious awareness, what you perceive as your reality. And what does it use to, create this filter? Your existing belief system, your current assumptions, what your subconscious has been primed to look for based on your current programming. Which means if your subconscious is running the belief that love is hard, money is scarce, or you're someone who has to struggle for what you want, your RAS is filtering your reality to confirm all of those beliefs. It doesn't try to deny your beliefs, it tries to reinforce your beliefs. It's literally a function of your brain. So you'll start noticing every piece of evidence that supports your old beliefs. And your brain will literally filter out any evidence that contradicts it. So it's not that the evidence isn't there. And this happens with people with their specific person a lot. They notice specific person was showing up, doing all the things I wanted. I couldn't receive it. And that's because if the filter is, wired to I'm not worthy, those things are going to look distorted. Your view of them is going to be distorted so that it matches your programming. Right? So it's not that those things are not there. It's because your operating system, your RAS, your filter isn't letting it in. And again, this is why two people can be in exactly the same circumstances and have completely different experiences. Their 3D may look the same, but their inner world, their consciousness that's generating their filter is different. And the filter determines what they perceive and therefore what they're experiencing. Your perception of reality creates your reality. I just did a whole video on this. I'm going to put it up here in the card. And so I'm going to go more into detail in that video about, it's not your affirmations, it's not your hopes, it's your deeply held beliefs, actually. The ones running at the subconscious level below your conscious awareness. Those are what your RAS is filtering on. Those are what your 3D reality is reflecting back to you. And this again is as within, so without at the neurological level. The outer world you experience is always a direct correspondence to the inner world your subconscious is broadcasting. which is exactly why the mindset shift I'm describing is not a small thing. It is not a reframe. It is a fundamental change in how you understand the relationship between your inner world and your outer world. It's a big deal what I'm talking about. It's so easy to wrap it up in one word, mindset. But it's like your entire relationship with your reality. When you genuinely see that your 3D is old information, when you stop treating it as live data about what is possible, your attention naturally starts to move where it needs to be, inward, to the consciousness generating the outer reality, to the subconscious programming running your filter, to the operating system that actually needs to be changed. Because you're either directing your inner world consciously or unconsciously, and that's going to be the programming from childhood that you never chose. And whatever is running on the inside is showing up on the outside without exception. There is no exception to this. So let me pause here because understanding this is important, but understanding it and actually shifting your inner world so that you can operate from it are two completely different things. One is intellectual, one is actually transformative. The work I do with my one on one clients goes into the specific inner world generating your specific outer results, the exact beliefs running underneath the surface, where they came from, how to rewrite them permanently at the subconscious level so that your RAS starts filtering for a completely different reality, the one that you actually prefer to experience and create. So that what shows up on the outside finally starts matching what you actually want. If you're ready for that level of work and support, the link to book a free strategy call with me is in the description, and there's also a link in the pinned comment. So let's talk about what does it actually look like to live from this mindset, to bring this mindset into your day-to-day moments when your 3D is showing you something that you don't want. Step 1. Stop taking instructions from your 3D. This is the most fundamental shift. Every time your outer reality shows you something, a pattern, a result, a circumstance, your first response is no longer, this is what's true, or this is what's available. No, your first response becomes, this is showing me my past assumptions. This is the correspondence. This is the echo of old programming, not telling me what's available or what's true, right? You're not a victim of what's showing up. You are the consciousness that generated it, and you are the consciousness that can generate something completely different. Step 2, read your 3D just as data, not as truth. So look at the patterns, the recurring experiences, the ceilings you keep hitting, the dynamics that follow you around from place to place, circumstance to circumstance. And instead of asking, why does this keep happening? You ask, what is this showing me about my inner world? What must I believe at the subconscious level for this to keep appearing in my outer world with such consistency? That question moves you from victim to creator instantly. And you can't be both. You are either reacting to your reality or you are creating your reality. Step 3, direct your consciousness towards what you are choosing to create now. Once you understand that consciousness is the real reality, that the inner world is always the cause, the most important thing you can do is become intentional about what you're now assuming to be true. What you consistently think about, what you believe about yourself, what you assume about what is available to you, what identity you're operating from. If you're not deliberately and directly choosing what you now prefer, then you're not creating your reality consciously. You have to be able to remove your attention from what is showing up and simply place your attention, your focus, your conscious awareness on what you now choose to experience. So, in closing, your 3D reality has nothing to tell you about what's possible for you. Nothing. It only has information about what your inner world was broadcasting in the past. As within, so without. Your inner world is the cause. The outer world is the effect. And the moment you stop taking instructions from the effect, the moment you stop letting old information define your current possibility, you step into the only position from which real change is available to you. The mindset that changes everything is not a technique. It is not a practice you add to your morning routine. It is a fundamental shift in how you understand the relationship between your consciousness and your reality. Once you see it, once you genuinely see that you are the source of what is showing up around you rather than the recipient of it, you cannot unsee it. And you stop trying to change the outer world, the effect, and you go back to the only place where you have power, which is your inner world, your assumptions. That is the mindset, and it changes everything. Drop in the comments, where in your life have you been taking instruction from the 3D echo instead of going to the source? We all do it. I've been there. But let's break this habit. Let's do it together. You can break this habit. It takes discipline. It does take effort. So leave me a comment down below if this has been an aha moment for you. And if you're ready to do this deeper transformational work and you want my support doing it, there is a link down in the description and in the pinned comment. You can book a free strategy call with me to see if it's the right fit for us to work together. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. I'll see you in the next video.